Gene Haas wants Cole Custer back in the 41 next year, but Tony Stewart wants to go in a different direction. What's the plan over there at Stewart Haas Racing? How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Before the green flag ever flew yesterday at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, there is a big breaking news story from the grid. We'll get to that in just a moment. First, if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any upcoming content. We talk NASCAR news, we react to races, discuss rumors nearly every single day here on Out of the Groove. Stay in the loop, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any upcoming videos. We've also got some exciting announcements and some fun, I guess you can say events planned in the coming weeks. I can't wait to share all that with you very, very soon. First story I want to discuss today actually broke earlier in the weekend. Hendrick Motorsports announced that Blake Harris will be Alex Bowman's crew chief next season. He will be replacing Greg Ives, who announced a couple months ago that he will be retiring from crew chief duties at the end of this season. Blake Harris currently works as Michael McDowell's crew chief over at Front Row Motorsports. He's actually in the middle of just his first year ever as a NASCAR crew chief. He's never been an Xfinity crew chief, never been a truck crew chief. He has been in the Cup Series for a long time. He was notably the car chief for Martin Truex Jr. during his championship season in 2017. So he has winning experience, but not as a crew chief. Now, this year, in his first year as a crew chief with Michael McDowell, they've put up dumbfounding numbers. Keep in mind, Front Row Motorsports is a C-tier team. They're not a team expected to win. They're not expected to make the playoffs. The next gen, being a spec car, was theoretically supposed to help them be more competitive, but I don't think anyone expected McDowell to put up some of the numbers he's put up this year. With Blake Harris, McDowell has 2 top 5s this year and 11 top 10s. That is, I believe, 4 more top 10s than Chase Briscoe, who's currently in the round of 8. I know he won the Daytona 500 last season, but this has been a career year for Michael McDowell, and I think at least some of the credit goes to his first-year crew chief, Blake Harris. Harris leaving for Hendrick Motorsports next year is a huge loss for Front Row, and a pretty notable win for Hendrick. He's only been a crew chief for 1 year, but it's been a pretty good year, so he clearly knows what he's doing. Maybe he's been able to wrap his head around the next gen better than most. I would say this is a huge win for Alex Bowman. Of course, we don't know exactly what Alex Bowman's status will be for next year. He's already announced he will miss at least the next 2 races due to a head injury sustained at Texas. Not sure if he returns for Phoenix this year, but I think everyone's still hopeful and optimistic that Bowman will be able to start the 2023 season behind the wheel of the 48. It's a contract year for Bowman. It's a contract year for Ally. Bringing Blake Harris over, a guy who's had some success this year with Front Row, give him the people, the equipment, the personnel at Hendrick. He and Bowman could absolutely soar next season. We'll see. Still, of course, many questions surrounding Alex Bowman, but I think there's reason to be optimistic if you're a 48 fan going into next season. Now, let's discuss the big news that broke yesterday just before the green flag. Bob Pockrass dropped this little nugget on Twitter. Gene Haas on the grid said he wants Cole Custer to return to the 41 next year, but Tony Stewart wants to give Ryan Preece a shot, so TBD for 2023. Whoa, some major silly season implications there, and that's just the first half of Bob Pockrass' tweet. The second half reads, Haas also said Kevin Harvick has indicated he won't return after 2023. His deal is up, but Haas is trying to convince him to do an extension. Did Gene Haas just casually leak Kevin Harvick's future plans? I want to react to the second half of that tweet first. It's not surprising to hear that Kevin Harvick is planning to step away after 2023. Like the tweet said, his contract is up. Kevin Harvick is already the oldest full-time driver in the NASCAR Cup Series by at least a couple of years. He'll be 47 years old next year. If he were to sign an extension for 2024 and beyond, he would be 48. We're approaching Mark Martin territory, and I know Mark Martin was still winning races at 50. Harvick is really, really good, but Mark Martin is an outlier. I would be shocked if Kevin Harvick races full-time, at least beyond the 2023 season, when you consider his age, when you consider what he's accomplished. When you consider the performance dip the last couple of years, maybe that's just a Stewart Haas issue. And when you consider the safety of the next gen car, we just saw Kurt Busch perhaps end his career at least a year early due to a head injury. Alex Bowman, we just discussed, his status is still unknown going forward. So I am not surprised whatsoever to hear from Gene Haas that Kevin Harvick is planning to retire after 2023. He's got kids. One of his kids is racing at a young age now, showing I guess he's showing some potential. Harvick's talked about, potentially sending him overseas and whatnot. I think Keelan does occasionally race in Europe. I'm not exactly sure. I have not followed, a 9-year-old or 8-year-old's career very closely up to this point, but Harvick's got things beyond the driver's seat that should be drawing more of his focus. So traveling 38, 40 weeks a year for the NASCAR Cup Series, I don't blame him for wanting to take a step back from that. Remember, didn't Kevin Harvick say on a podcast recently that 2021 originally was going to be his final season? I will be shocked if Gene Haas entices him to sign another extension beyond 2023, but that'll be an interesting storyline to follow. Now let's talk about the first half of that tweet. Tony Stewart, the Stewart half of Stewart Haas Racing, wants Ryan Preece to drive the 41 next year. Meanwhile, Gene Haas, the Haas part of Stewart Haas Racing, wants Cole Custer to keep that seat. What is the plan over there at Stewart Haas Racing? You've got the two owners, the two main co-owners, disagreeing on a major driver decision. I'm worried about Stewart Haas Racing. It's no secret. Their performance has declined pretty rapidly the last few years as a team. Go back to 2018 when they had a strong veteran lineup of drivers: Kevin Harvick, Clint Bowyer, Kurt Busch, Aric Almirola. They won 12 races combined that year. Yes, most of them were Kevin Harvick, but all 4 of those drivers made it to the round of 8. Half of the third round of the playoffs was made up of Stewart Haas Racing drivers. That was just 4 years ago in 2018. Then 2020 replaced Kurt Busch with Cole Custer. Cole Custer's able to win a race as a rookie. Kevin Harvick wins 9 times, and Stewart Haas as a team still has 10 wins as an organization. That's not bad at all. Then 2021 replaced Clint Bowyer with Chase Briscoe, and as an organization, SHR won only once. One whole win last year, and it was actually Aric Almirola. It wasn't even Harvick or Briscoe or Custer. Now we're in 2022, same lineup: Harvick, Almirola, Briscoe, and Custer. Harvick got a couple of wins late. Briscoe got that win early. 3 wins as an organization, better than last year, but still far off their high of 2018 when they had 4 drivers in the round of 8. This year, with Briscoe, they're lucky to have 1. SHR's performance has fizzled in recent years, and now their 2 owners have completely different plans for the future. Let's talk about SHR's future. They've got Chase Briscoe, who I think is pretty decent, potentially really good. They also signed Ryan Preece to a development deal. I like that. Preece is a fantastic modified racer and has shown brilliant flashes in Xfinity and trucks on part-time schedules the last couple of years. The question is, can SHR build a championship team around Chase Briscoe and Ryan Preece? Is that enough? SHR has been unable to land any major free agents recently. You'll remember that Tony Stewart wanted to sign Kyle Larson, but Ford rejected that idea. Now, I'm not sure if SHR was ever going to be able to sign Larson since they were bidding against Hendrick Motorsports, but that didn't work out. And then just this recent summer, SHR was thought to be a contender in the Kyle Busch sweepstakes, but as time went on, it seemed that Chevy and Toyota were the ones who emerged as the favorites. Harvick is likely gone after 2023. Aric Almirola was going to retire after this season, signed an extension with Smithfield, but his future beyond 2023 is kind of murky. SHR could potentially lose 2 veteran drivers in the next year. They need all the young talent they can possibly get. Which is why, this may surprise you all, but I'm actually going to side with Gene Haas. I think Cole Custer should drive the 41 next year. Don't get me wrong, Cole Custer has been a massive disappointment. He was 26th in points last year, he's 26th in points right now. In 108 Cup starts, Cole Custer has 2 top 5 finishes. Trust me, I have serious doubts about Cole Custer's NASCAR future. But right now, Stewart Haas Racing needs drivers. They've got Riley Herbst driving their Xfinity car, and while he's shown some improvement this year, he's still, in my opinion, a long way away from being NASCAR Cup Series ready. Hailie Deegan's a Ford development driver. She's looking for an Xfinity spot next year. She just had a very impressive debut at Las Vegas, finishing 13th. But she is at least a year or more away from being Cup Series ready. I mean, you got Zane Smith is a Ford driver who's shown some flashes recently, but he's under contract with Front Row. They're planning to have him make a few part-time Cup starts next year for their team. I'm not sure he's super available. You got the Gray brothers, I guess. Point is, the Ford/SHR development pipeline right now is kind of bare. Cole Custer has been bad in the NASCAR Cup Series, but it wasn't all that long ago that he won 7 races in a single Xfinity Series season, almost won the championship. Heck, earlier this year, Cole Custer making just a one-off Xfinity start won at Auto Club Speedway. So the guy can drive, he just hasn't been able to consistently figure it out in the NASCAR Cup Series. You can't give up on Cole Custer just yet. If you had more talented drivers, itching for a Cup Series spot, I'd say sure, go with Ryan Preece. But Ryan Preece is likely to get the 4 car next year, after Harvick retires at the end of 2023. Keep him as a development driver for one more year, have him make some more one-off starts. Ryan Preece has a seat waiting for him. If you were to demote Cole Custer this year to the Xfinity Series, or bump him over to a Rick Ware car if you have that alliance, what's that going to do to his confidence? Is that really what's best for his development as a driver? I think you got to bite the bullet. You have to keep Cole Custer in the 41 next year and plan on Ryan Preece replacing either Kevin Harvick or Eric Almirola at the end of the 2023 season. That's what I believe should happen. Is it perfect? No. In my perfect world, Stewart Haas Racing would have gone out and tried to get Kyle Busch to drive the 41, but either they couldn't make that happen, were unwilling to make that happen, Busch got a better offer. I don't know. They lost out on Kyle Busch. I just don't see SHR landing any major free agents in the next year. I don't see them as a particularly desirable landing spot at this point. For some drivers, they are. There's plenty of drivers out there who would kill to drive a Stewart Haas Racing Cup car. But they couldn't get Larson. They couldn't get Kyle Busch. Tyler Reddick's going to Toyota. I think SHR has no choice but to stick with their existing young drivers. Preece will get his shot at the end of 2023. I think right now you have to keep Cole Custer's confidence as high as possible, continue to surround him with people who could help him develop, make him better, so that when Harvick and Almirola retire sooner rather than later, you have a decent driver to fill their shoes. SHR is kind of backed into a wall right now. You got to work with the young drivers you currently have control over. And Custer, Preece, I think their roles should be set for next season. Let me know what you all think down in the comment section below. I look forward to reading your responses, but that's gonna do it for this episode. Again, if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. We talk racing pretty much every single day here on Out of the Groove. As always, a big thank you to my Patreon supporters as well for going above and beyond to support the channel. I greatly appreciate your support. We'll be back again probably tomorrow. I heard Spire's planning to announce their driver lineup. Sounds like Ty Dillon could be in the running over there. Gonna have lots to talk about, I'm sure. Thanks for watching, y'all. I'll see you in the next episode.